Welcome to our episode on Washington State road signs.
Driving in my car, beep, beep.
You just like
Obeying the law sure is neat.
Hope no one runs into me. Oops, it's my lucky day. Plenty of time to get out of his way. How it really goes. Driving in my car, beep. Guys, welcome to Real Awkward, the podcast that gives you creepy vibes this Halloween on NBC.
Sure.
At 8 o'clock Thursdays. When no one watches.
Nobody has cable anymore.
We are the best damn podcast that you've heard
Today.
My name is Andy.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Ashley.
My name is Ashley. My name is
Ashley.
What's your name?
Ashley.
That's right.
God, I hate that.
That's right.
You make her have this personality, and you make her do it, and then she does it, and then you're like, get it right, god damn it.
Yeah, it's called gaslighting. Get it right. You're wrong all the time.
You're trying to be outgoing. Trying to have personality.
Yeah, get back in your role. Wait, what was that stupid reality show where he's like, you stay in your lane, and you stay in your lane, and you stay in your lane? And
It was The Bachelorette.
Yeah.
The Bachelorette or something like that. Stay in your lane, buddy.
yeah. So he's like this guy no one likes, Amanda, like on the show at all. And they're like,
And
buddy.
he's always like picking fights with everybody.
And one of the guys comes up to him and they're just like, dude, no one likes you. Like, just stay in your lane. And he's like, I'm staying in my lane. You know what you guys need to do? You need to stay in your lane. And you need to stay in your lane. And you need to stay in. And he just goes like through every guy. There's like 12 dudes there. And he just tells them all to stay in their own lane.
I love like the reality show thing. I love the reality show thing where it's like obviously the producers must be asking questions, but it's like you do this thing where it's like so we've been watching Ink Master, and it's the same thing where like they'll come back, like they'll go be doing these tattoos all day, and like they must be sitting around just like talking about what they've been doing that day.
Yeah.
And it's like the guy who obviously has like the shitty tattoo is like, yeah, I don't know. I know I can tattoo circles around you guys. Your tattoo look like shit. And it's just like, and Chris and I are always just like, Jesus, who asked him? Like,
what's his problem?
I would be like, shut the fuck up. Like, oh my God.
Oh, you know what, Amanda? You just spawned a little memory that I had. So it's October, right? We're enjoying Halloween-y things. And I got a
definitely
question.
October.
I got a question for you. Were you guys into Fear Factor? Did you watch Fear Factor?
My
back in the day?
My sisters did.
Okay.
For RuPaul's Drag Race, a reality competition show being like my favorite fucking show on the planet, I don't love reality shows.
Okay, sure.
Especially a lot of reality competition shows, but we did watch it.
Yeah.
They would watch it a lot more than I would. I always thought a lot of them were just like gross to be gross.
That's what I always
yeah,
thought. It's
it
like
was never really
at
like
first it was
scary
like,
stuff.
What
right?
are your worst fears? And then it was just like, now stick your hand in this pit of
scorpions.
Of something
Yeah, I
gross
don't know.
and slimy. And
Yeah.
it's like,
well,
now we're just being gross.
yeah, it definitely got to a point where they exhausted all the good
Yeah.
ideas. Where it was like, Ashley, originally
And
it was like,
every episode had Afraid of Heights.
Yeah.
Like there was always
Yeah.
a heights thing.
So there's only one episode that stands to mind. It's when they have to eat the bull testicles.
Oh, yeah.
But it's funny that they
But again, I'm afraid of eating bull. What?
yeah, that's your
That's
worst
your
fear.
fear?
it just became the gross out show.
Yeah.
And it eventually got canceled because they made them drink like, wasn't it like animal semen? Like there was
they
some,
sure did.
Yeah, it got weird. Yeah, I
and to
remember
me,
that.
I was like, there's no way this is real. Like, and that was my thing. I was always like, this is just fake. Like, they're just telling them that it's real. But then it was like, oh, no,
took
it's
like
real.
pudding and put fish oil in it. And
Ew,
made it really
that's
gross
still
or
really.
something.
Mixed pancake batter with pool water.
So in thinking about that, going down this weird trail, I'm wanting more stuff that like was eerie or creepy and less like gory and slasher. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, I mean, I know we've talked about The Haunting of Hill House. That type of stuff gets me more than anything. And I'd like to see more shows like that, but I don't remember anything being like that when we were younger. I don't remember anything hitting that that same chord.
I don't
Does that
know
make
if
sense?
there was that kind of stuff when we were younger, you know? Like, I think that, I mean, obviously I'm probably forgetting things, but like you had some crime type shows like
Yeah.
Unsolved Mysteries. And I know they had a lot of kind of maybe like sort of paranormal-y shows, but I don't think they had stuff like Stranger Things, like Haunting of Hill House, like back in the day, you know?
I do wonder what has made all of that stuff popular now. Why is Stranger Things and Haunting of Hill House and the way that those stories are being told and the way that things are creeping you out, why does that feel different? Because everything's been made now, right? It's all been made from movies and TV shows. We've seen it all before. Why is that stuff scary now? Like, why is that stuff like, oh, that's good? Like, that stays with me.
I think people like to be scared. I mean, I think that there's a reason that we still have haunted houses. I think there's a reason we still do make horror movies. People like to be scared from the comfort of their own home. You know?
But I mean, I know it's easy to just say like people like to be scared, but my real question is like, why is this different? Like, why is that? You know, it moved away from the slasher stuff to, excuse me, more of this like creepy paranormal jump scare stuff. Maybe
I think the paranormal stuff is a little bit. It's oddly more relatable.
like it could happen.
Where it's like it could happen, but it's like the unknown. So like you don't know if it could be real.
Okay.
Whereas like a man running around with a hockey mask and a knife is like almost hokey.
Have
You know
we
what I mean?
disassociated ourselves from that reality then? Like you're like, that would never happen.
Well,
That's
and
why.
Right, where like Jason dies, but then he's not dead, or
Right,
like
sure,
you know, like
sure. Yeah.
I don't know. Like I think that we have, and maybe we've just seen it so much that we're like, okay, it's not really like.
Well, because people love the slashers, right? They're like, oh, I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Freddy Krueger or, Leatherface but like,
well, I think the problem is, you know, especially audiences we're desensitized to a lot of stuff, right? Where it's like, if the graphics were updated, right? If it was made today, but still shot for shot, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I don't know if it would do well because I think people would be bored.
sure.
I
that makes sense.
think that, and because if you think back to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there's not a lot of full on gore. There is gore,
Yeah,
obviously,
sure.
but a lot of it is done like behind a door or
Yeah, there's a lot of like creeping around.
well,
stuff,
yeah, and
too,
so
yeah.
like there's a classic scene where Leatherface comes out from behind, like he's like opens a door, grabs somebody, pulls them back, slams the door shut, and you hear like a sound and the person
right.
screaming. You're not seeing any of that, but you're hearing it, and your mind is letting you think whatever's happening there. I think that audiences now want to see that.
Sure.
And so I think
Sure.
that that's part of it. And I think that the paranormal stuff that's more popular now, like demonic, paranormal, I think that they're able to not, I mean, obviously there's still gore, but I think that when it comes to paranormally stuff, it's a little easier to keep you on your toes, right? Because it doesn't have to necessarily make sense.
Right.
That's
But it's
fair.
also all like new ideas. So your brain is not like, oh, well, like
I've seen this
I know
before.
what a big scary man looks like, but
Yeah.
like
Sure.
I don't know what a big scary paranormal entity looks like.
Well, I'd love that you bring this up because Ash and I just watched a movie. Right?
What'd you watch?
Nope.
Nope.
All right.
Did you watch? Have you seen it?
I don't know what we're talking about right now.
Nope.
Oh, you watched No. I'm literally like, I don't understand what's happening.
What is happening right now? Nope.
No, I haven't watched that yet. Was it good?
Okay, so
Nope.
no.
No,
It is.
it-
It's an interesting film. So,
I like Keke Palmer and I love Jordan Peele. So
well, Jordan Peele is a very unique director, and he's a unique director because he plays on tropes that you normally don't find in horror films, right? Or he's playing with something that almost kind of twists the version of reality that you think that you would see. So, This one's really interesting because it really does hold your attention throughout, I would say, the first 2 acts because you don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Like you see, so it's essentially a rancher that works in Hollywood with horses, and something happens in the beginning of the film that kills his father. And so as you're watching it, it starts to unveil these pieces on this farm, this giant farm that they have, that something effing suspicious is going down, and they start to see it, and their whole job is they want to document it. Like they want to try to like film the spectacle, right? Mm-hmm. And most of the movie is like these small little things happening with these characters that are like two very not divisive, that's the wrong word, differentiating characters, right? One's loud and boisterous and in your face, and one's like kept to himself and calm, but they're both going through the same situation, and how each one reacts is kind of different. But I find, without trying to give this one away, because Amanda, I think you need to see it because I'd love to get your opinion on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would prefer you don't spoil the ending for me because I haven't seen it.
Yeah. But there is some scenes in this one that kind of get you. But then once you realize what's going on, like there's a lot of like playing with your emotions in it too. So Ash and I were both like, once you see it once, you don't really need to go back because once you know what's going on, you're like, oh, okay. Right. But the way Jordan Peele does this is there's like Jordan Peterson. He's a great director. The way that he does this is he interlaces it with this really interesting story of this TV show from the 80s with a chimpanzee. And it's like, you don't know how they interact. You don't really know what's going on. But at the end of the movie, it all kind of makes sense and comes together. So I don't know. I just think that it's unique storytelling now on Nope. But to Ashley's point, it is all about like the unknown entity. Like the unknown is scarier than us seeing the monster.
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
the unknown is scary because until a filmmaker gives you the visual image of what is being scary, you are at the mercy of your own imagination.
Which is
and so your own imagination, yes, but your own imagination is like filling in these little cracks and stuff, and like figuring things out, and like so it's actually smart filmmaking because he's having to do less.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
And I think the comment that I made after we watched it about Jordan Peele's filmmaking is that he's really good at having these scenes where there's no or like limited dialogue and just really like building it where you're like, what is happening?
Yeah, I agree.
Like it's just all in silence and you're just trying to figure it out by like what these characters are looking at. And
I really like his style in general. Like I really am liking, there's some newer directors, but him especially, like he's bringing a lot of different ideas. And I like that, like Get Out wasn't particularly like groundbreaking, but it was just a really cool idea, really well done. And then you have Us, which it was incredibly well done. And it was a really interesting idea that like, so with Us, you have the idea that we all have doppelgangers. And then at the end, there's still a little twist happening. And so that's always really cool. And so he's a director where like, you think you kind of understand what's happening. And then it's just like, oh no, wait, no, you don't. And
yeah. And that he does that very, very well. And I do wonder if that's the new direction of horror. Or
like misdirection?
Or the misdirection of horror of what that genre will become now, right? Because I think the slasher is dead, right? Like
I think there's always gonna be a market for a slasher. I think that there's three things happening. I think there's three sort of like genres within the horror genre that are happening right now. I think you're going to have the classic slasher still happening because they're still making Scream. They're still doing all this stuff. And then, I think you're going to have the more like cerebral ones, like what Jordan Peele's doing.
Sure.
but they're still like a horror movie, but they're kind of like the weird ones.
It's like suspense and thriller almost.
A horror thriller.
Right.
And then I think you have like what Ari Aster's doing, and there's been a couple movies that have come out, like there's a studio called A24, and they're making a lot of smaller horror movies.
Yes, I've heard
recently,
great things about them.
They've made I think it was just X, and then they made Pearl, which is like the two movies kind of combined together. Then I don't think it's the same. I don't know if it's the same studio or not, but you have movies like Barbarian that are coming out that are like shock gore horror movies.
Yeah.
Where similar vein to like House of a Thousand Corpses and like stuff like that, where it's like shock.
What about like Hostel shock?
Hostel I would call like shock value, but like gore porn kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that there's always going to be a market for the tried and true slasher, for the thinkers, and then for the people who just want blood.
Just go. Yeah. People just want blood.
What do you guys think in the modern day? Because a lot of the slasher stuff is like older movies or remakes or franchises from 70s, 80s, whatever.
Yeah.
What do you think in the current age is required of a slasher movie to make it successful?
Like with the same characters from the previous?
No.
Oh, was it like brand new?
Brand new.
Okay, I will say, I think that they got this right. Megan. Did you like Megan?
I haven't watched that yet.
Okay.
So I don't want to.
I don't think it's dumb at all. I think that it's actually setting up a really good foundation for making a new type of horror slasher. This was only PG-13. If this movie was rated R, I think it would have. Was it rated R? I don't think so.
Let me see.
Check. I think that this is starting to set up a really cool foundation for robot/AI horror films. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's our own technology is being used against us. The Chucky remake was the same idea.
Yes.
Where he was like
PG-13.
Yeah.
AI that like malfunctioned and now he's killing people.
And I don't think that that's necessarily.
But I would consider those slashers.
You would consider what?
And that's what he's saying.
I would consider Megan, Chucky, those are slasher movies.
Right. Yeah, right? Because essentially she goes, frickin' dog. Our dog just kicked our camera. Can't see him.
It's okay. But so, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think that one of the scariest characters to come out in the last like 10 years or so, and it's unfortunate that it was sort of underutilized, but the character from American Horror Story, I think the Carnival season, it was Twisty the Clown.
Okay.
Did you guys watch American Horror Story? Did you ever watch any of those?
Ash did.
Okay,
I watched the first couple seasons. Yeah.
The Carnival season had this clown, and he was killing people. And the first couple episodes he's in are just fucking scary. Like his scenes are scary, and it's because he doesn't talk. He doesn't really emote in any way. He is just blank face and he's just menacing. And so I think that is what's happening a lot, where like these bad guys, they're not monologuing. They're just a force. And then the thing that I think that audiences are really grabbing onto right now is like the subtle horror, where like you didn't realize it at first, but he's actually in the shadow of the scene the whole time.
Oh,
or like,
yeah, man.
He's in the background.
Stuff. They played with that in like
The Strangers.
Strangers, but also in like Sinister and The Conjuring, like has some of that stuff too, where some of this stuff has been in the background the entire time. I think that is creepy. That is like, for you to go back and watch it, you're like, oh my God, they were in the background the entire time.
Same thing with the It movies. Mm-hmm. If you don't notice, you'll miss, but like you'll see Pennywise's hair in the breeze, or like and it's this idea that he's always there.
Right.
And go ahead, Ash.
One thing that I think is interesting, and this might kind of divert from the point you were trying to make when I cut you off, but no matter what no matter who the villain is, there's always this, as the viewer, this desire to try to empathize with why they're doing what they're doing.
Sure.
And I think some of those slashers, like you said, the clown that doesn't talk, you continue to watch it because you're like, why?
Yeah.
Why is he doing this?
Yeah,
I
you always
need to
wanna
find
know.
out why
Yeah.
he's doing this. And I don't know, because I don't watch a lot of the older slashers, but they all have a backstory, right?
Uh-huh. Yep. Almost all of them. So Chucky was originally a serial killer that was running from the law, and he practiced voodoo magic. And he runs into a toy store as he's trying to escape all of these cops coming after him. And he basically does a spell and puts his soul into the Chucky doll. So like that's who he was before Chucky. So and he's just lost his shit. He's just a bad dude. I don't think it really gives a lot more of that backstory.
He's
or
just
not,
like
but
a deranged psychopath. But,
correct. Yeah.
But with Chucky, he never stops because he's a
Right.
doll.
Yeah.
But really, as far as like for instance, Jason, you don't know his motives until like the end of the movie.
Right. And that's what
Yeah.
the point I was going to make is I feel like a lot of them were drawn out. Like you didn't know their full story right away. So it took some time to like come to that. But if Andy brought up like Megan,
Yeah.
that's AI.
Yeah.
What's their motive? Like,
Well-
how do you empathize with a character like that where it's literally not human?
Well, what's crazy about Megan, and this isn't going to spoil it, Amanda, but basically Megan's prime objective is to make sure that she protects this little girl at all costs.
Yeah. No,
right?
I know
Yeah.
the idea of the story, but
Right.
no, yeah, Megan. The thing I thought was interesting about that movie was, aside from the fact that it's just like a killer robot,
Yeah.
it's the uncanny valley thing where she's human-like but not quite.
Well, and that gets people a lot too. That I think you're right. That's a really good way. Because when I was a kid, you know what freaked me out? Like mannequins. You know what I mean? Like in the dark mannequins.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that
Yeah.
type of creepy stuff. Like they're going to move. There's this scene that I've seen on social media where this girl, she's in bed and she has the lights off and she's looking at her chair. It's across the room and it has some clothes thrown on it, whatever. But in the shadow, it resembles like a figure.
Oh,
And when
absolutely not.
And when she turns off the light, it starts to move.
Nope.
And then she turns the light back on and it's just her clothes and the chair. And then she shuts the light back off and it starts to move again. And like
Nope.
that type of stuff.
Like
I
what our
think,
brains do?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
type of stuff is what I think really gets like
Well-
a modern audience now.
Okay, a million years ago, I used to have like the bifold closet doors in our bedroom.
Yeah.
And I used to just like hang my hoodie on it, like on the bifold. Like, I don't know. I can't explain it. But I never thought twice about it. But then one time in the middle of the night, I woke up and it looked like there was a figure standing in my bedroom.
Oh my God.
And because it was like the hoodie was just like hanging. And so it was like a head. It was like a head and an upper body and in the dark, And so I remember being like, what the fuck? And like, and so I took it off. And like, ever since then, I was just like, okay, note to self, don't do that. Like, but it was like, I can understand where, where like people think they see ghosts in their house, where like
Yeah.
you're in that half asleep, not really. And you see that, that freaked me out. And like, that was a million years ago. And I still think about it.
Amanda,
So, like-
you never want to stay at my mom's during Halloween because every single standee and figure she has is around the house, in the kitchen, like, and you'll like walk past in the middle of the night and look like something's staring at you. It freaks you the F out. But I think to Ash's original question, like, where does it go from here? Like, what is the evolution of the slasher to make things more interesting? So AI is obviously going to be a lot of people's go-to. I just think that us creating a conscious being that can now take over in various storylines is really unique. Black Mirror has done some fun stuff.
Well, I think
with
that the
that
idea
too.
of like a robot taking over is nothing new,
Yeah.
right? That's kind of been a concept for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the fact that AI is becoming more of a reality now,
Yeah.
people are like you said, they're going to lean towards that because
it's relatable.
It's way more feasible that could actually happen now.
Well, and like it's getting creepier and creepier, right? The Echoes and the Alexas of the world and all of that type of stuff is like, it knows you by your voice, and it knows like how to turn your lights on your house and off your house and whatever else you have connected. And like, I don't know if they've done this already, but have they done one where like the house is actually the villain and not Monster House, not the kids
the Disney
movie,
Channel original
Smart House?
movie, Smart House?
Yeah, no, but like an actual horror film, like R, where like you're walking down the stairs and the door shuts you before you like take your first step and you tumble down the stairs, like where the house itself begins to become alive. I don't know if that's like,
not that I've seen. Yeah, I don't know. You know, I think it's interesting. I think that really when it boils down to it, it's all cyclical, right? Like the zombie thing has kind of cooled down.
Yeah,
and
right.
I think that, you know, that'll kind of come back, but it'll shift a little bit, right? Where like, so you have the, you have The Last of Us.
mm-hmm. Yep.
And those are zombies.
Right.
Well, they're infected, where, you know, I think we'll probably start to see more of that kind of thing where they're not the slow lumbering zombies so much anymore. I wouldn't be shocked if they ever made like a Left 4 Dead movie.
That
like,
would be cool. Yeah.
Because
more like survival
or a show.
horror. Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
or where it's these original, like it's a non-original villain, but it's an original concept for the villain because it's all the same, just recycled. And you know, I don't know. I think that I love horror movies. I love horror shows. And I think that the popularity of these horror shows is, I think that's where it's going versus a movie.
Yeah. So do you think though that like horror cinema will die, or do you think like storytelling will get so good that people would rather have episodic than a film?
I'm not sure, if I'm being completely honest. I think that certain things are better as a movie, like a slasher movie. I think that the slasher idea works in a 100-minute span of time.
Mm-hmm.
There is the main protagonist, there's the bad guy, and then you have the final girl at the end. That is 90 to 100 minutes. There we go. Because if I was watching a TV series and it was just the same villain coming after the same person every single episode, I'd get to a point where I was like, I'm done here.
Sure.
But if you have a show where it's the same like type of villain, but it just changes a little bit based on the episode, I think you have a more workable idea. Like, like the Haunting of Hill House, like you have this family who's all been affected in different ways.
Sure.
So
you could follow each individual story. Yeah.
Yeah, they're each dealing with their own demon in a way, but it's still ghosts or demons or whatever that you want to like make as the big bad. But it's like each episode kind of has its own thing that's happening. And like The Last of Us, you have where like the clickers or the infected are like the main person, but then, you know, you have other stuff happening where it's like people are just as scary as the creatures.
No, and that's always been good too, right? To go with the scariest thing is really just the reality we have out there right now.
I mean, honestly, human nature is scary enough. Like
fair. I do think that on the horror genre, going the television show route, Stranger Things was a very unique take on it. Not only because most slasher films is a teen or like a young adult, this was like children, right? Like for the most part, the story revolved around the kids and them being abducted into this like demonic world with this creature. Spoiler alert, if you guys haven't seen Stranger Things, it's a phenomenal series, but like it's a giant spider cloud monster that then ends up being an actual man in the reverse world. Like, it's such a weird, like, there's no relatability at all, like, to any of that stuff, but you found it so creepy and entertaining at the same time.
Well, and they've done a really good job of creating the world around it, right?
Yeah,
visually and just like with the story. But I mean, it is one of those things where you're like, it's the same bad guy every season, but they just change it enough.
Yeah.
Right, it's like Harry Potter.
Villain of the week.
Yeah, but it is the idea of like, not like, it is the idea where it's like they're just that constant force. Like, they are not going to stop. They're going to keep coming after you unless we take care of it.
I think that in Stranger Things, like you talk about the use of the children.
Yeah.
And I think not even beyond Stranger Things, using kids in horror films is great because there's this question of like, are they using their imagination?
Right.
Or are they actually seeing what's there?
And that's always creeped me out too. Yeah.
But on the point of doing TV series instead of movies, I think that a series allows for more suspense.
That's
because
fair.
At the end of every episode, you can have a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
As opposed to at the end of a movie, you could have a cliffhanger for a possible sequel.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you get to build that suspense in every single episode.
Right,
and I think that just keeps you going. Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe that's why television shows lately have been more successful than a horror film. But then you also said in another podcast was the It thing being so popular, right? The Pennywise character. So that shows you that those types of films can still be made, can still like come back. I mean, they currently are doing the Exorcist stuff all over again. They just did one with Russell Crowe. What is that one called?
The Popes?
Oh,
the Pope's Exorcist.
Yeah.
I watched it on the plane, and that one also has like these moments of freakiness, but I feel like that's almost a different genre, right? The demonic possession genre always has felt different than slasher versus like home invasion versus paranormal. Like, the horror genre, to be honest, might be the most diverse of any genre, right? Because a drama really only has so much to get out of it.
And then there's those romantic horrors.
I wish they would make a romantic horror.
I mean, they do make comedy horrors.
Well, they made
right?
Jennifer's Body. That's a great movie, by the way.
but there's also like Shaun of the Dead. There's,
True. Yep.
Like
Ducker.
Zombieland.
Ducker.
Or what is Tucker and
Tucker
Dale?
and Dale.
Ducker and Tail.
Ducker and Tail.
Yeah.
Well,
Ducker and Tail, boy.
It's interesting, where it's like, even Twin Peaks, right, in the 90s, where I wouldn't say overall it's horror, but there are some episodes where you're like, what the fuck? Like, like just as crazy as like American Horror Story.
Sure. I always thought that was a good take on stuff too. American Horror Story as modern.
Honestly, American Horror Story, I really, really want to like them.
Yeah.
Some of the seasons I think are good, but I think it's hard because they start usually with such a strong concept, and then about halfway through they lose it for me. But it's one of those things where it's like, if you can make it to the end, usually the end's a pretty good ending.
Sure.
But I really half of them I honestly don't make it all the way because
it's
I'm
like
just
a boring
like,
sandwich.
yes.
Like it starts out strong and then you're like, and this is dragging on. Let's get to the point.
I want them to be like 2 or 3 episodes shorter than they are. That
makes sense.
The one of the seasons I haven't watched yet because I haven't watched any of the newer stuff, but they did like a double feature season where like it's 1 season long, but it's like 2 short seasons. So it's like 4 episodes and like 4 episodes. But it's like completely different stories. And so I'm like, I think I want to try that because I feel like we could like get to the point a little faster. You know, like.
What do you guys think about the films that came out probably about 4 or 5 years ago now? And I think they've made some others, but like Bird Box and Quiet Place, like this stuff where like you never get to really see the creature for the most part. It's really just the suspense of running away from these things. Like, do you think that can sustain, or do you think that people will be over that type of genre as well?
I think that that's a niche genre, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I think that, like, it's one of those ones where every so often a movie like that, I think it's great. I think it's fine. It keeps it fresh. But to have it be like, if it was gonna like be something where like all these movies are made all the time about it, I wouldn't give a shit.
Sure, it wouldn't be.
I feel
scary.
like movies are made all the time about it.
Yeah.
Like both of those you mentioned were just like, we are in an unsafe place and we're trying to make it to a safe place.
Right. That's the
there
story.
There are so many movies that have that storyline.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm meaning something different. I absolutely agree with you that is going to be a movie trope that continues until the end of time. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm meaning like the idea where you're not seeing the villain, you're not really seeing what's happening. I don't know. That doesn't work for me because I want the payoff. I want to see the bad guy.
Yeah.
And you like,
but we touched on it earlier though. Like when we were talking about Nope, is like once you see it, it kind of loses its scare factor.
Right. So, and that's same thing happened to me with Signs. And I think we talked about that, right? With Signs, I was like, I'm invested. What's going on? And then when I see the alien, I'm like, and that's just a guy in a costume. Got it. Like, I mean, it was graphics effects, and honestly, they don't hold up now. If you look at it, you just laugh at the aliens. But like,
no, but back then they looked pretty all right.
No, but yeah, when you saw it the first time. But I do think that with your imagination being so, running wild, I wonder. So you guys know how like video games are becoming so popular that it's literally like accepted as a new form of media, right? Yeah. Like we love music, we love movies, we love video games. It's not just like we love music and movies, video games are for kids. It's like a new like thing. A lot of filmmakers have been saying, and this is to Amanda's point where it's like, where does it go from here? Or maybe you said it. They want to make these films continue, but interactive. So like how, I don't know where that would ever go, but I wonder what would happen in a horror film where you get to make some of the decisions like live. And like almost like VR headset, right? Imagine putting a VR headset on, and though it's a game, you're the main character and you're trying to figure out what you're supposed to do. So, and it's easy to say like, oh yeah, they made that. You Resident Evil, and you just put the headset on and you can go shoot them. And I'm like, yeah, I know you're a character and you have a weapon system. I'm like, I just mean like you're in the world.
No.
Right? You're just in the environment, and you literally are just sitting on a couch or a chair, and you're like, what do I do now?
No, Amanda touched on this. She said people like to be scared in the comfort of their own home.
Fair. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They don't want to be a part of it. You want to be a part of it, you go to a haunted house.
Well, that's true, but even there's a level of safety in that. I do wonder.
But that's what I mean. That's why people go. Yeah. Because like somewhere I've always wanted to go. I've always wanted to go to Halloween Horror Nights.
Yes.
And I think they're so cool looking and I love it, but at the end of the day, you're like, they can't hurt me.
Yeah, they're not allowed to touch you.
They're just going to scare me.
Yeah, right.
I know. We have a place here called Mad World where you can like buy tickets like that, and you can pay an extra $10 to have a sign on you that says like, you can't touch me. And I'm like, yes, I'll take one.
I'll take the sign.
I'll pay the $10. Don't touch me.
Yeah. I will ask you guys this. Is there something that's happened to you before, or something that's like a deep-rooted fear? And I don't mean just like scared of heights or whatever. What makes your...
Like eating bull testicles?
No.
Oh.
You know what? It reminds me of the show called Fear Factory.
Fear Factory.
I don't think we've ever talked about this before. There was a show on MTV.
Yes, I think so. Called Fear. Mm-hmm. Oh, my dog just farted. That's my worst fear. I'm sorry.
When your dog farts and you're wearing a V-neck?
Oh, God, you can't cover it up. The V-neck just keeps falling off your nose. It's the worst part.
Okay, ask your question.
What makes the hair stand up either on the back of your neck or your arm? Because I have been, and you guys can tell me, okay? I have been sitting in a room, 1:00 in the morning, by myself, I'm watching a TV show, and I just get this eerie feeling that I'm not alone. And I'm like, I'm looking around and I'm not really seeing anything, but this overwhelming feeling happens to me where my body shivers from my head down to my toes. And all of a sudden I look down at my arm and I have goosebumps. Like, do you guys have any moments or anything like that that really like kind of plays on the fear of what that's like? Like what that's like getting to the heart of what scares you? I don't know.
I know for me, if I like wake up in the middle of the night or like I stayed up late and Chris is asleep, but like I'm still awake, like, and I'll think I hear noises or something.
Yeah.
Like it's that like, is there somebody in the house or if I just go to bed, then I don't have to know. Like,
yeah.
But it's one of those like, I'm not going to go check. Like I don't want to get murdered. But then this little part of your brain goes, what if it's a ghost? Like
sure, yeah.
Like,
but does that actually freak you out though? Like
not really, but
yeah.
there are times where like I'll make sure like my feet are tucked under the covers or like I'll make sure that I'm like tucked in really good.
How about you?
All of it.
Like anything?
Everything scares me. I am afraid of the dark.
Well, because
don't
Ash
like
doesn't
noises.
like when I look at her and I'm like, look.
Don't. Everything scares me.
Look to your right
Everything's
right now.
Don't.
Slowly.
Andy Case.
See? That type of stuff gets you, right?
It all gets me. Honestly, like, I don't like feeling like I don't know what's there. Like, Andy Case, stop it.
Honestly, the idea that something is moving around us, but we don't know is terrifying.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
I'm not afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of things moving around me in the dark that I can't see.
Yeah.
Right, that I can't react to.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of water. I'm afraid of things being in the water that I can't see.
Do you know what freaked me out the most? And I screamed like a little bitch. And I might have talked about this on the podcast. But when we used to live in the Marysville house, do you remember that, Amanda?
I remember when we lived in the Marysville house, yes.
Okay, well, when we went to go move out and we were trying to clean up the garage, where Donald had thrown all the trash in the back of the house. Do you remember that?
A rat.
Like in the box.
Why are you yelling?
I don't know.
Amanda, do you remember?
Do you fucking remember?
There was a rat.
I just remember you were like
building the suspense.
Wow!
I lift up the box and a fucking rat jumps out of the box, and I literally screamed like a little girl. And I remember to that day, I was like, nope, I'm not picking up boxes anymore.
Just to that day.
But no, I'll like kick them now, right? If I'm in the garage or whatever, I'm like, I'll kick them and make sure nothing's going to jump out at me. But I mean, that was a, ugh. But like, and I've seen that stuff. When the old house that Ash and I used to live at, these tiny little mice would come up through the fireplace because it was cold, and they would come into the house to warm up and go into our pantry and like nibble on stuff. And I would be sitting there on the couch watching a show, and out of the corner of my eye, I would see something run across the floor. And I'd be like, what was that? What is that? And I'm like, I don't want to stand up. I don't know where this thing is. I don't know what it is. And it absolutely was that. It was a little mouse like running around the house, but at night, 1 o'clock in the morning.
But it's just like corner of your eye, right? Mm-hmm. Like you don't know what it was. You just know you saw something. Or did you?
And that's the thing.
Or
did
you?
Or every once in a while, if I have like my phone or something, or like Lincoln will leave a toy out or something, and it'll catch the reflection of the TV. Yeah. And like it's so then something catches my attention and I'm like, what the fuck was that? But then I pay attention and I realize that like off the shine of his like toy, it's like reflecting what's happening on the TV, and I'm just like, oh my God, I just gave myself a heart attack.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
A shadow or a figure. I don't know where the horror genre goes, and I also don't know what I would do personally for like a new slasher.
I will tell you though, I won't watch a horror film by myself.
Really? Any horror film?
I don't think so. And maybe I have, maybe something mild, but like I'm not about to sit down and be like, let me watch something that scares me.
Yeah.
Oh, I prefer to watch them by myself because
Ooh.
if I am
Because you don't want to be embarrassed when you scream like a little girl.
No, I don't want to be bothered by just anyone else. Like even like back in the day where like you'd get together with all your friends and you'd watch a scary movie.
Oh,
I
right.
hated it because somebody was talking or somebody was asking a question and now I missed an important piece of information. I hate it.
That's the cinephile in you.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But I prefer to watch them by myself. But I have no problem. Like, if there's a spooky movie and, like, people want to watch it, I'll watch it. But I might watch it again by myself. I don't watch them, like, in the dark.
Okay, you watch them with the lights on.
Yeah, I remember, like, I used to wake up before everybody else in my house, and I would, like, watch whatever scary movie was on TV or, like, when we had our own house, like, and I would wake up first, I would watch a horror movie. And I don't know why. It was just like, if I'm going to watch one, it's going to be during breakfast. Like, I don't know why.
Watch it. You're like, nothing can get me once breakfast is done.
Yeah,
I'm not going to bed now.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think it was just like, let's just start my day with some murder. Like, I don't know.
So, in relation to my first question, fear factor.
Oh my God.
What is a recommendation? I know Ash doesn't watch a lot of horror movies, but what is a recommendation you guys would give to somebody for an October horror film to watch? Just one. One that you either like or is stuck with you. You got anything?
I think that for me, if I'm thinking October horror movie, I think that I would be remiss if I did not say Trick or Treat.
Oh, Little Sam. Yeah.
I think that movie is really, really cool. Like, just as its own movie. It's got really cool visuals, and it's kind of like it's like an anthology movie where there's like little stories happening that all sort of intertwine. It's got really, really cool ideas happening, and the stories are like spooky enough that they're spooky, but they're not gonna like freak you out. Like,
sure, yeah.
There's some unsettling stuff, but then there's some more campy stuff. There's a little bit of everything happening, but it is at its core, it is a Halloween movie, and so that's what I think. If I'm watching a horror movie in October, I want a Halloween movie.
It's a good one. Only just because I've seen a lot of merchandise now too for that.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's wild. I think it's wild that like Sam is now this like character.
Yeah.
And he's getting looped in with all these other characters and stuff. But I think it's awesome. I would say that like if we're not talking about watching like a Halloween movie, Scream.
Okay. And I know that's always been a go-to for you, but I think it's warranted for sure.
There's a reason why people still talk about it.
Yeah. I agree. What about you, Ash?
I mean, there's Casper the Friendly Ghost,
Banger.
Halloween
Scary.
Town,
Banger.
Young Frankenstein. No, I would say if I was going to recommend a scary movie, the first one that comes to my head, I know we've talked about it before, probably several times, but Drag Me to Hell.
Because it's
good.
It's good because of the Sam Raimi-esque, but also I think the visual effects in that film are awesome. Like, the old lady, dude, in the car.
Yeah.
It's like such a good scene.
It's got a great mix, man. It's got some sort of semi-lighthearted parts. It's got sort of scary stuff. It's got gross out moments. It's got a really great mix of a little bit of everything.
Is it 10 years old now?
At least.
Right?
Yeah, at least.
2009? For some reason, I feel like 2009 is when that released. I don't know if I'm right, but...
2009.
2009. Justin Wong. Not Justin Wong.
Justin Long.
Justin Wong. God. I feel so bad. I'm sorry. What was
What
that
about you?
director?
He's the
again?
guy that directed Fast and Furious,
Yeah,
right?
Justin Lin. Jake Paul. I don't know. Okay, I have talked about this multiple times on the podcast, but if you guys are first hearing it, you have to watch a movie. It is a French film. It is called High Tension. I love this film. I love this film because it is has a really cool twist at the end of it, but it also has some incredible suspense and horror and death scenes, and it's just like, it's really, really good. It's about two friends just go on this road trip, and some crazy shit starts happening to them throughout the road trip, and when they get to this house, and like, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And without spoiling, I can't really even tell you anything more without spoiling it on why it's so good. And then if everybody gets to choose a second on a campy one, I'm going Cabin in the Woods. Like, if you're going to watch a Halloween movie, dude, watch Cabin in the Woods. It not only makes fun of all the horror movies, but it just does it so brilliantly. So,
yeah, I mean,
watch House of Wax. That's
House of Wax with Paris Hilton. Gosh.
Honestly, okay, I will say, for what it's worth, the original is better with Vincent Price because he's the king. But the remake with Paris Hilton has its moments.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not great, but there are some really good moments. Like when truly the scene where the wax breaks off and you can tell that there's a person underneath. That is a very intense scene.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up.
Some of the acting is good, some of it is not. But it has its moments.
I feel like I watched a horror movie recently where someone rips their face off. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Does he trade it with
John Does he trade it with John Travolta? Oh, that's good. No, I feel like they like cut it and then rip it down.
Oh, God.
Do you know what I'm talking about? What was that? They like ripped their face down. Like from the top. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but for some reason I remember it.
No, you're not wrong.
Did we watch it together?
What the heck did we watch?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Amanda didn't see this at all. So, you know what? When we find out, we'll pop it up on our Instagram.
All right,
and Amanda, if people
don't even act like we're going to do that.
Amanda, if people have their own slasher film that they've already created and they could share it with us, we won't take it for royalties or anything, I promise. Or if they want to recommend a awesome October scary spooky film, where do they do that at? Can you tell us?
Here's I have a couple things to say. First of all, if you like talking about horror movies, if you like spooky stuff, we do have a bunch of horror movie or / like Halloween content. We talk about scary video games. We talk about old scary movies. We talk about new scary movies. Check out some of our older episodes because we have a good handful of stuff.
Superstitions.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But please, if there's movies we haven't talked about on here, I love scary movies. So head over to our Instagram at Real Awkward Podcast. Let us know what you think is worth watching, and I most likely will watch it.
Agreed. I think she will.
But there's also a chance I've already seen it. But I will talk to you about it if you want to tell me about it. Yeah, do that.
Agreed. Ash, any last words?
Nah.
All right. Nope.
Nah.
All right. We'll talk to you guys later on a spooky Halloween show.
Bye-bye.
Bye.